A company sent me this tower heater, so let's show you everything this comes with and then we'll see how it works. So when you open up this box, you will see that it does come with a quick start guide and then also a user manual. And then in the top of the box, it does come with a remote. So that is pretty much all that you get with this heater here. The heater looks really nice. I like the design of it. I like the size of this. So I think it looks very sleek looking. And when you pull the remote out, there is a little tab here that you want to pull. So make sure you pull that. That way the batteries will start powering up in this device here. So pretty much everything that you can do on the remote, you can do here on the screen and vice versa. There is one different feature that I will point out. Here on the remote, there is a little sound button. When you press that, it shows you that the sound is off. And because this makes a tiny little beep whenever you're changing the settings, so that will disable the sound. But pretty much everything else can be done here on the screen. And right now it is on the eco mode. This is basically like setting a thermostat. So while it is on that mode, you can lower your temperature or increase your temperature. So if we lower this temperature down here, the fan and everything will go down. If we want to raise the temperature here, we go ahead and increase it up. And you can tell the heater actually kicks on. It gets hotter and more air coming out of it. So that is what the eco mode is. It's pretty much like setting a thermostat to where it will automatically adjust your room to that temperature. By pressing the three little bars, kind of a menu, you can see that it turns to fan, and now it's just blowing air. So it's not like really cold, it's not hot, it's just blowing air. And now it is actually still warm right now because it was just on heater, but once it kind of cools down, the heating element cools down, then it just blows kind of cool air, I guess, just at least move some air around the room. If you tap it again, it goes to the heating modes. So there are 3 different levels of heating modes. If you tap the little button here, plus, it goes to heat 1, which just kind of is blowing just a very little bit. Tap it again, heat 2, it blows a little bit more. Heat 3, it blows the most air out. So that is kind of the 3 heating modes that it has. We're going to turn it back to fan because I don't need a lot of heat right now. It does show that this is plugged into power. It has a red light showing you the plug there, so I'm not positive why it has to show the plug, but it does. Now if you want this to oscillate, you just tap this button right here, and this will start oscillating. It oscillates 70 degrees, so it'll give a pretty good throw of the air around your room. So I think that's great, so that way it will all circulate around your room. We'll go ahead and stop the oscillation now. I'm tapping it again. Now there is a timer button on here. If you tap this, you can see where you can actually just keep tapping this. You can set this up to 12 hours, so that way it can shut off automatically after 12 hours. And once you have a timer on, it will show up the clock or whatever, letting you know that the timer is on. Of course, if you power it off, you power it back on, it goes back to fan, it goes back to whatever you had it on. It just doesn't show a timer now. So if you want another timer set, you will have to do that. And if we have it on the eco mode, you power it off. It does give you a 30-second cool down. So any of the heat modes, I believe it gives you that cool down. That way it gives a little bit of time for it to cool down before it actually powers off. Once it's cooled down, it will go off. When you power it back on, of course, it goes back to whatever mode you had it set for. And again, pretty much all of that can also be controlled here by the remote itself, with the oscillation and everything. And then we will just power it off, and it's giving us a cool down mode there. It does have a little cutout, a built-in handle here in the back of it. That way you can pick it up and move this very easily. And by the way, it's pretty lightweight. The other feature this has is an anti-tip feature. Now, some other fans do it differently, but for anti-tip, whenever this is leaned over, it is actually still on. If this tips over here, you can see it takes just a minute, and then it goes to P4, and now it is cooling down. The fan is actually still blowing, but it is cooling down now. After about 20 seconds or so of this laying here on the floor with the fan running, it did completely quit blowing. It still shows up P4 on the display, but there's no fan blowing, nothing is heating up or anything. So that's how the anti-tip feature works with this. And now when we set it back up, it goes off. I think this is a nice little size. This will be great for our photography studio here. Sometimes when we're photographing small babies or whatever, we will have a heater on in the room to kind of warm it up. So I think this will be great for us to use, and I think it looks very nice as well.